retreat is now posted. Who's taking minutes? Let me check.
And you need to take attendance?
Yep, I will. Just 1 second. I believe it is it's Raphael, I believe.
He just did it.
You just did it?
Yeah,
Whoops.
just did it.
Hold
And
on.
they're amazing, amazing. Did you see my an email, Raphael, about them?
Yeah, we'll check it. No
Okay.
AI, but there's other ways. Yeah.
Thank you.
The
They were amazing.
sorry, I got confused because it's technically on Marcus, but he's not here. Let me check.
Well, that's what the recording is good for.
Next. Yeah, I guess I'll just send him the email and send him the recording. Is what I'll do. That's a good point, Meg. So Marcus is on minutes tonight, so none of us have to worry about that. And then
Marcus is here. Marcus just joined us.
Oh, excellent. Hi, Marcus. You're on minutes tonight, just so you know.
Oh, I am? Okay.
Sorry for the unpleasant welcome.
Unpleasant, you know.
Anyway, we'll go through roll call now. Myself, I'm here. Meg?
Here.
Raphael?
Here.
Andy?
Here.
Erica?
Here.
Ken?
Here.
Awesome. And Marcus? Marcus, we just heard from him. So
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
perfect. And we have one attendee. So basically, we will get started. Welcome to the September 4th meeting of the 2024, now 2025 Charter Review Committee. And I'll get us started with the meeting just so folks know there is two things. Meg has one thing, and then Athena's extension request will be coming up in our topics not anticipated section. And we'll go forward with the minutes. If folks got a chance to see the minutes, I'm going to move to approve the Thursday, August 7th minutes.
Second.
Excellent. Any questions, comments?
Crazy good.
Great. Myself, I'm an I. Meg?
Aye.
Raphael? Andy?
Aye.
Erica?
Aye.
Marcus?
Aye.
And Ken?
Aye.
Excellent. That's unanimous. And you had said, you'd reminded me that we already have the July 24th meeting minutes all set. So we need the 26th. Is that on you, Meg?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm partly done, but I want to
Okay.
talk with my consultant, Raphael.
Okay. And the 21st, we need minutes for the 21st as well. So that's that. And then at least we've made some progress.
Do you want to approve the 24th, the July 24th? So that's off the list?
21st, not 24th. It's on the list, but we don't have the minutes yet. I haven't got
No, what I'm saying is the July 24th meeting minutes are on the list to be approved, and they were submitted a couple weeks ago.
They were? Okay, then I'll move to approve them.
But they are in the packet for this week. So I don't know if maybe people want to defer.
They're in an earlier week, but yeah, they're in an earlier week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does someone want to move to approve them? Or if not, we can do it next weekend or next week, just resend them.
Did folks review them?
I personally did not. I didn't see them.
I did not, so I'd abstain from voting.
Yeah.
You want to just hold, Julian?
I think we should just hold off till the next meeting. Yeah.
Where would we find them if you want to review them?
I believe in the packet for last meeting.
Okay.
Or before that, I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah. So Meg's getting us the 26th. We'll do the 24th at the next meeting and the 21st as well as this meeting. Public comment. Anita, would you like to make a comment? I see no hands. Excellent. You can also press *9 on a telephone. And I will now get us right into the meat and potatoes. with the outreach subcommittee update. Erica, and feel free to chime in, Raphael and Meg, if you'd like.
The outreach subcommittee was not able to meet in the interim, unfortunately, but we continue to have plan to publicize a draft. Well, we have a draft of a letter that Meg has started to publicize the existence of the initial report once that's complete, and to use that as a way to solicit additional feedback in that interim between the initial and the preliminary report. I don't have additional activities to update on unless Raphael and Meg want to speak more specifically about what they have.
I don't.
I have a couple of things. The letter I drafted, I didn't bring to this meeting because the outreach committee hasn't had a chance to see it yet. The
Right.
idea was to put it in the Gazette as an opinion piece, or as one of their, editorial things that they do. Giving a chance, telling people what's coming and why, it's all the ways they can give feedback on the preliminary report, so that we enhance for anyone who feels they didn't have a chance to comment or didn't know where to comment, or, there's been some confusion. I think we should make this preliminary report equally important in terms of people responding as the initial input that what they gave. So that's what this draft letter is about, once the subcommittee gets a chance to look at it. And also, I'm continuing to expand the neighborhood lists that I have been gathering. Lots and lots of neighborhoods in Amherst have neighborhood lists. So if you could send me any you know of or that you're part of, that would be really helpful, so that we can sort of blast that out once we have that preliminary report.
Great.
Yeah.
Comments,
And
questions?
one last thing that I didn't get to mention is that one of the proposed outreach activities for this interim period that we had proposed in the previous meeting was attending the town council meeting to both to request their kind of support and to use themselves and their kind of constituency as a platform to promote the existence of the initial report and additional feedback. So we have the opportunity on the 8th. I'm not sure we'll be ready. Well, depends on, I think, how the retreat is going to go. We're not going to be ready with a report, obviously, but we could use that opportunity to make contact or wait for the following meeting. That's just sort of pending.
Does anyone know if the block party's scheduled?
Yep,
that-
it's on the 18th.
So do we want to do anything at that? Is
I
that
was going
something
to talk about that later in the agenda.
you have it on the agenda? Oh, I didn't see it.
Or I had it on the agenda for the retreat, but if we wanted to talk
Oh.
about it now.
No, that's good. That's good.
Okay, great.
I just hadn't seen the retreat agenda yet.
Oh, yeah, actually, no, you were right. I'm sorry. Outreach activities on initial report. I had it on the agenda for tonight, so we'll talk about it. But it's on the 18th. I believe 5 or 6 o'clock till like 10. And feedback subcommittee update, Andy.
Boy.
I just sent out an email with the latest version of the chart that we have that I think we can use to go through, the list of feedback that we've gotten so far. I mean, it doesn't have Kathy Shane's input in it yet, but it's quite extensive. And we talked a little bit about how to sort of expeditiously sort it in our meeting on Saturday. And we were thinking that there may be 3 types of buckets. There may be suggestions that fall below the level of the charter. They may be things that might be for bylaws or rules or, values, questions or whatever. Then there are things that are sort of at the level at which the council can actually itself approve changes to the charter and are appropriate for the charter. And then there are things that are above the level of council action, which would require state activity or a new charter council. So that might be one way of sorting. Is this on the level of the council? Is it below the level, or is it outside the level of the council, or is it something that would require greater, another level of approval from either a new commission or from the state? So we can go over that list. I think that the plan is to go through some of that later. But then Julian and I also met with the Collins folks a couple days ago, Monday, I guess, and they suggested, in terms of feedback, that we might just want to have a question of, suggestion X. Is this something we want to move forward with? Or is this something we want to let drop off, off the page, basically? And it would basically be a winnowing process to say, is this something that's of interest to us? Is it something that we think should be, worked on further? And then they suggested that we could create that list and then give it to them for a run through to say, to look at and to say, what would some language look like on this, and to also compare it to Mass General Law and traditions of charters and things like that. So there's sort of two levels that we could be talking about, and so one is basically, is this something that we think is on the level of the charter that the council could do, or is it above or below that level? And then the other is sort of, is this something that we think we want to put forward in some form? So I don't know exactly. I think we can discuss that as we're talking about the process for the retreat. But what we basically have is a chart that has all of the suggestions in it. Some of them are just sort of, comments or whatever, but they're all, as far as we can tell, they're all in there. And we have a column that, where possible, indicates what section of the charter it's in. A column that says what's the rationale for the suggestion if there was one offered, and then there's a column for comments, which sort of came from from us and from other things that we'd received that were commenting on things. So it's incomplete. If you've looked at it, it's much denser at the beginning and much more freewheeling as you go along. But I think at the level that we're working on Saturday, the suggestion from Collins and I think from our group is that we stay at sort of the level of concepts. Is this a concept that we feel we should push forward? And then if so, how can we get it into some format that would ultimately result in language for the charter? And on that score, I think Collins can be helpful with that. And we also have several suggestions from several members of the council. So we're looking forward to going through the list. There's a lot of items on the list, and it will require some focus and expeditious decision making, or hopefully the process will work out okay. But we've digested it to the point that we can right now, and hopefully it'll be useful.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Meg?
Andy, could you share what your subcommittee hopes will accomplish on Saturday, like goals, so that we know what we're working toward?
I think that's up to all of us, right? I mean, we're going to discuss that as, but I think our sense was that we would be trying to winnow down the list and come up with a list of things that are of ideas that we think are worth continuing to work on.
Okay, so identify the topics and then perhaps fine tune later as we go forward.
I think so. That was a suggestion of the Collins folks as well, and that they could help us fine tune them, to do the legwork to fine tune them. So that would be a good use for them, I think.
Raphael?
So are we thinking that this document's reviewed before we come to the retreat? Folks' thoughts on that? That's one question. Second question is that recommendation from the Collins Center about, do we want to move forward or drop? How do we come up with a rationale for that decision? We should consider that. I think the sort of focus on above or below thing that you were explaining is important work. The piece that I'd like more clarity on is just moving forward, rationale or not. How do we deal with that? So that's questions for everybody.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
first
that's the item on the retreat work plan, you know, number 10 on the agenda here today. I think that's where we figure that out. I don't know if we want to move that up or what, but
what I
Yeah.
mean by that, Andy, is like rationale for move forward or not. You have a committee here who we are making decisions about move forward or not. Rationale could be a large number of people shared this, so definitely move forward. It could also be, this is my interest as a committee member, so I'm moving it forward. I think we should be clear about rationale and approach. Does
Yeah,
that make sense to folks here?
I,
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Andy, and then I'll let Erica chime in.
yeah, I mean, I don't think we have a large number of folks who chimed in on any of these things. I think we've had, you know, several people suggesting a number of them and then single people suggesting others. But I think at this point, you know, it's a matter of trying to figure out where does this fall, you know, looking at the level of a town constitution and the role of the council in approving changes to that and what they can and can't do.
Okay.
Trying to find that sweet spot of, you know, what of these things looks like it is at that level, and then you know, what of these things might be more at the level of, you know, council rules or axe grinding or whatever, you know, or needing a new charter commission. So I don't know. I mean, I think at this point we've cast the net out there and gotten a lot of feedback, but I think then, you know, we have to then apply some judgment as a committee to say, you know, we have our charge and we've expanded that charge to say we're going to go beyond the charge, but I think we have to have some sort of sense of what a charter is and what the council can do, and then sort of say, does this fit into that? But, you know,
Erica and then Marcus. You're muted, Erica.
My apologies. So if I understood your point though, Raphael, was that there's a difference between a report that sort of responds to things that we've heard from various sources in both public and elected general public and elected officials versus things that we have derived as like, or we've concluded to need a response based on ourselves as a committee. And even if that is based on our insight of like close reading of the charter in consultation with the Collins, there's a difference between those things. And I just wanted to clarify, Raphael, if part of what you were saying was, is it important to identify the difference between those things? Or is it like we have a rationale and are we going to publicize that rationale, so to speak? Like, are we saying we've heard this in repeated formats from kind of different sources, and we also concur as a committee, which are two different things, and like how is that showing up in our report? In the rationale, like, is the rationale column, does it matter to differentiate, like, what, it doesn't matter that we have a tally of like we heard this 7 times versus 1 time versus 0 times, but does it matter? I'm putting this question out. Does it matter to identify the fact that we did hear this in public? We did hear this from elected officials or town staff, or we in our close readings and thoughtful conversations have arrived at this. We feel like that we need to push in this direction.
Yeah, I think you capture what I'm trying to share. The sort of analysis that involves sources, it's more work, but I think it's important work and an important consideration. I don't know how the whole council feels about this council, but I think that matters in some ways when it comes to the spirit of this, in terms of rationale and just illuminating what the public has shared or folks in town.
Mhm.
But again, this is just the initial. So we definitely have time to consider, but I just wanted clarity about where we are for the retreat.
Marcus?
Yeah, thanks. I was just kind of going to respond to a bit of what Raphael was saying, because I think really what we're looking to do is more group things and identify the areas. Part of the table that we had put together was, well, there was potential for us to include like a reference section and say we heard this from number 1, number 10, number 15, and that's why this is part of it. So we have been including that in our discussions, but I kind of want to see what the grouping brings before we kind of get into the the cutting, if we even need to cut anything, because I mean, a lot of it is right. We talked about how we know that there's some things we can include in the charter. We know that some things you need a state intervention, and some things are not even charter. I wouldn't say charter worthy, but are not a scope of a charter. They're more, in the rules and regulations of how things are run. And so if we can collect those and provide the feedback that was given, then that's, not up to us to cut it, because we're not actually part of that discussion, right? That's more for the body that the rules and the regulations pertain to, which would be the council or the town manager or whatever it is. So it's just we would be in that respect a conduit of the information rather than a gleaner of it. So.
Yeah, thank you.
That's
I
good.
guess, I guess at this
Or
point,
before you go, Julian, my other question about should we review before the retreat? What are folks thinking about that?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I would say yes.
Yes, please. I beg you.
All right.
Will Meg? You're muted.
I have a lot of copies of the charter. I'll bring a little pile.
Excellent. Sounds great. So I guess this sort of is a good segue. Andy?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, do you want me to share the document?
That's what I was gonna say. Go right ahead and pull up your document. This is sort of a good segue into a thought that I had, which was, I know at the last meeting, Meg mentioned basically having sort of a way to define how many people said an idea, like if it was an idea from one person, an idea from 10 people, etc. And I can understand that idea. I think that like it's not an aggregate survey, but at the same time, it would be helpful to know, is this an idea that just one person had, or is this an idea that sort of different minds that come from different places have agreed, hey, that's an idea with some merit to it. So I was going to propose that we sort of put a check mark on each idea before the retreat to say, this is an idea that has came up multiple times or not. Not to say how many people said it, but just to say, has only one person said this, as in one person has an axe to grind about this issue or has done an incredible amount of research on this specific issue? Or is this something that we've heard from multiple people? And if it's something we've heard from multiple people, maybe just put a check mark next to it so we know for the retreat. That was my thought. I don't know what other members' thoughts are on it. We can take a vote if we want, but I was hoping that we would just be able to sort of come to a consensus on what a reasonable idea is with this. Andy, if you want to start screen sharing, go right ahead. And if you have a comment, feel free to.
Yeah, I just, again, I don't think it makes that much difference, but whether 1 people or 7 people said it in a town of, however, 15,000 voters or whatever. It could be 7 people who arrived together and all had the same idea because they talked to each other. I'd rather have people look through and sort of say, maybe mark up, these are things that I think the council could do. And maybe we get some sort of consensus of like, wow, there's a bunch of these things that we think the council could do on its own and wouldn't require, you know, extra stuff. And then that's a starting point for a laundry list for the council. And then we have some other categories of things that we think are that, you know, that we put into, these are things that would require more state level or commission work. But that, you know, that doesn't mean we're knocking them off the list. That just means we're putting them in that category. And then we have the other list of things that might be more at the local, or, you know, at the rules level. So I'm wondering if people could, it's a pretty, I guess it's not going to be something you're going to want to print out, I don't think, because it's very small type. You're going to probably want to have it on a laptop and blow it up. So, but however you want to do it, but somehow, I guess we should agree on what the homework is so that we can get a sense of what we're trying to mark up, so that we can accelerate our. How many of you thought this is something that's charter level and that we should put
Right.
forward, you know, or how many, you know, there may be some things that are just somebody, like there's one where people just said, you know, this process is ridiculous. And I'm not sure that's really even a suggestion, but or somebody said, you know, we should have a mayor, and it's okay. So that's a certain level of a comment, but it's certainly, you know, what is the homework, I guess.
Meg?
I support what Andy's suggesting, that we go through and clarify what category of change these different recommendations are. I'm a little reluctant to weigh in on, a lot of people said this and only one person said that, because sometimes, you know, the genius person who studied it more says something that nobody else thought of. But if they have that's why we should put it in the preliminary report, because we might find, I think we'll get the response we get from the preliminary report is really important, because people say, oh, wow, I never thought of that, or whatever. We're giving them something specific to respond to. Will be useful.
Raphael?
Yeah, I too like what can the council do homework. It's just the entry of this process. So I think that's important work. It might not be a long list of, I don't know what the list looks like, but that'll help sort of guide the process moving forward.
Okay, so,
Yeah, go ahead.
can I orient you to this?
Yeah, thank you.
So it's
Wow.
basically, can you see it?
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, so
Tiny print, but we can see it.
there's a what, there's a where, and it's not always filled in. There's a rationale if provided, and it looks good up front, and then it gets very sparse as you go along. And then there's some discussion. So,
Great.
you know, I think Julian and I are talking and thinking we might try to go through Article 1 tonight and see how that goes. You know, that might help clarify some stuff. But in this case, you've got somebody who said that, you know, that there's a section that says Amherst currently says Amherst may exercise any of its powers or perform any of its functions and may participate jointly or by contract in working with other jurisdictions. This person is saying it should be a mandate. So, you know, that may or may not be something that would fit. But then there's revisiting the public forum definition to make it less cumbersome, and there's a reason why. There's clarifying whether manager appointed advisory bodies are multiple member bodies. There's clarifying definition of a measure, clarify the definition of an emergency, define quorum requirements for all town bodies, clarify what the town full town council definition is, which has to do with, you know, whether an abstaining vote means a no or counts against something or not. And then there's return to the town meeting form of government, or alternatively adopt a council mayor form of government. So that's kind of a whole different level. And then as you go down, there's a lot of things in the legislative branch, right to postpone, requiring a second order for council to postpone, consider allowing people on the council to have, you know, just people with part-time employment to serve on the council, who are partly employed by the town. Something on when to vote a pay increase so that it starts at the beginning of a term rather than partway through. Revisiting language on what a majority vote is. That's pretty important, but it may also be something that's in the rules. Clarify what when a measure needs to be read at 2 meetings, what does that mean? You vote twice, or do you just discuss it twice and vote once? Roll call requirement language, which may be redundant or not. All council meetings live streamed and recorded, etc. So there's a lot of stuff here in section 2, which is the article 2 is there's the 8-week lame duck period, lengthening and staggering terms. So there's a lot of stuff in this section. Council size, public comment, district meetings, mandate, so we got a lot of suggestions here. So that's Article 2. Then they get a little shorter, but Article 3 has a fair amount. And you can see that the amount of detail drops off significantly. Some of the detail on Article 1 is just to make clear what those definitions are about, because it's fairly technical. Some of this is more conceptual, and I think we can grasp it easier. But also, we just haven't had the time to fill it all in.
So is it the sparseness because of running? It's huge what you did. No, sorry, you didn't. I didn't raise my hand. Sorry.
Yeah. Erica, go ahead, then Marcus, and then Meg. I appreciate you putting this together, Andy. I think it's helpful, and we can start reviewing Article 1.
Yeah, thank you, Andy, and the whole committee.
Yes, this is a committee effort.
I wanted to just, maybe this is a question for a little bit later, but I just wanted to be really clear on if we're being asked to review in advance so that we can get a good head start on our retreat, to be really clear about what the criteria is for how you want us to mark this up or kind of categorize things. I think that doing whatever that pre-work is, whatever those criteria are to mark this up as we review, that's what I was asking clarification on.
Yeah, it seems like the committee isn't as interested in sort of deliberating what ideas multiple people had versus one person. But I think that it's totally reasonable to ask everyone to look through this beforehand and sort of try to get an understanding of what we want, what could be done at the council level, what could be done at the rules level, what could be done at a state level or a charter commission level, and also like whether some of these things seem more like I want some way of sorting out stuff that is either extremely minute or stuff that is sort of someone has an axe to grind. Not that either of those things are bad necessarily, but one person with a very, very minor suggestion shouldn't take up hours of our committee time. So I want to just be careful about proper time management and asking for committee members when they review this to keep that in mind. Marcus?
Yeah, thanks. I mean, so I was kind of getting onto Erica's point. We need to define what number 1 means, what number 2 means, and number 3 means. Andy, you'd had that in an email. I think we just need to put it in that presentation, in the Excel spreadsheet, as just a definitions page. So then we run through each of the things and put 1, 2, 3 next to each of the ideas. And then to your point, Julian, during the meeting, all we're saying is, if you could share again, Andy, sorry. It would be just a case of like line 132. Who's got 1? Who's got 2? Who's got 3? Tally those up, report that out, move on to the next one. And then once we've got all of the points laid out, then we can get into more of the detailed discussion. But we need to really create a group idea about what's in and what's out. The idea was, we would have this master list, obviously, and then we just duplicate these, the sheet 3 times and just filter on which one was the 1 versus 2 versus 3. And those are our then a sheet of all concerns that are council actionable versus state or whatever actionable versus rules and whatnot. So it really is trying to keep it simple.
Thank you, Erica.
Yeah, the question is, what is 1, 2, and 3? So if are we meant to be ranking things based on what we feel are high priority, medium, and low? Are we using what Julian described as, are we the ones identifying ourselves on our own? What's a council act? What's a rules act? What's a state act? Those are things I think we have ample room for consultation on, and I'm not sure we should be debating at that level
Yeah.
what the council itself is capable of doing to change the charter. We might have maybe I'm just speaking for myself. We might have a good guess, but we probably would need to consult anyway. So I'm not sure we should spend a lot of time debating what we think is a state rule versus a local. Anyway, my point is to your process, Marcus, like, are we ranking them based on what we feel is the highest priority? What's the 1, 2, and 3 here?
Yeah. Do you mind if I answer, Julian?
Go right ahead.
Yeah, so it's not a ranking. It's just purely a numbers system. Number one being, well, whatever we choose it to be today, we still have to define it.
Yeah,
but it is
that's
not
all I
a,
was
it's not,
asking.
yeah. But it is not a, a high, medium, low type ranking. It is a bucket 1 ranking, bucket 2 ranking, bucket 3. Bucket 1 could be things that we know are above, from our discussions up to this point, we have a rough guess that it's going to be, more than can be done in a charter. Mayor, things like everything has to be done remotely, all that sort of stuff, right? We know that has to come from the state. We know certain things we can do in a charter. We know certain things are certain things are rules or whatever they are. The idea is not to spend hours discussing it. The idea is to go, like I say, go through each line saying who has which, what, and done. We group it. And then to your point, we can send it off for additional clarification. But it is just a case of right now we have almost 200 ideas on what we need to do. We can't spend our whole time going through individually, discussing which ones whatever. We need a quick and simple and dirty way of just creating smaller groups so that we can get into the kind of the idea of and understand ourselves the scope that each area, of the discussion that is within the town, what's happening, so that we can get into our business of putting the report together. But yeah, I completely agree. We shouldn't be in the business of determining exactly what is in and what is out. But I would say, have enough of a background to have a reasonable guess about what it is. And that would at least get us into a place where we could have a more informed discussion rather than just a wag. So.
Raphael?
Yeah, again, thanks for doing all this work. I think in terms of like review of this document, it's good for us to review it to see what feedback has been put forward. Some of us are not as close to it as the feedback committee. So it's great that we have that. The what can the council do piece, I'm going to use a different word in terms of how I'm thinking about it. The what's in, what's out language has been used. But in my mind, I'm thinking about what's plausible, what's possible. And I do think if we do that work, to Erica's point, if we're reading this feedback against the charter itself for homework, trying to figure out what's plausible, we benefit from having the Collins review what we've listed as what's plausible. I think it would have been great for them to help us with that before the retreat, but we're here. But I think like that piece of work in terms of what's plausible is important work for us to do. So I don't know if I'm reading this the way that other folks are, but the what's in, what's out for me is like what's plausible, what's possible, what can the council do?
Yeah, that's basically exactly what we're talking about, Raphael. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Other comments, questions? Nope, not seeing any. Andy? Yeah.
Just looking at Article 5 here, there's sort of the range is shown right here. There's clarify what a new appropriation is. That's like a definitional thing that will help them do their work. And then there's clarify whether the manager's budget goes automatically to finance committee upon submission to the council or whether it waits until the council meets. You know, that's technical. It's a small thing, but it's actually something that could be easy for them to accomplish. FinCom should be a citizen board representing taxpayers. That's a much bigger and in some ways, you know, heavier discussion or, you know, conceptual. And then there's more specific stuff about finance committee being appointed by a nonpartisan body or person. I'm not sure who that is. It's not very specific. Revisit whether the budget coordinating group is necessary. There's been some suggestions from a couple of the counselors on how that might, how it's actually evolved since the councils existed, and the meetings that have been happening between the school committee and the council and others in the towns. And then enhanced transparency in the town budget process. It's not very specific, so there may be more specificity coming in other questions about how to make it specific. But you know, I might be like, sure, let's enhance transparency, but I'm not sure sending that to the council is going to be very helpful. So there may be specific ways to make it more transparent, and there may be some ways, you know, that are listed elsewhere. But I'm just sort of trying to. I actually don't think that the small ones are necessarily less important than the big ones. In fact, some of them may be the easiest to put on the list because they can clean up things that the council has identified as problematic or barriers that could be fairly easily overcome.
The other thing is just some are so small that like we can even just ask for the council to amend its rules, or even like I saw the thing that said, I don't know what town staff are earning. Like that's so small that a resident could do a public records request. Like that isn't even a charter level thing. That's a like, I can find it on the website. I believe after that comment came in, Athena sent us the link and turns out they do have a document.
Yeah, they have the open checkbook and they have so yeah.
Anyway, Meg?
We might want to think about, am I muted? No. Adding a column of questions from the committee, clarifying questions. Did you mean this or did you mean that? Or because some of these questions that have just come up in this discussion have been important. We didn't know, you know, asking clarification in the preliminary report so that we get the final report is more specific.
Yes.
Like that.
Yeah. So,
and also I want to say thank you. This is quite a big piece of work. And thank you. And is it the reason it gets more sparse as you go down is because of running out of time, right? Not because you didn't. I mean,
I think so. Although the definitional stuff required, I think, some more explanation. Some of the other stuff is fairly self-explanatory.
Got it.
Excellent. Erica, and then I'm just going to move us along into actually sort of working with Article 1.
I just, maybe I'm being obtuse. I just want to be really clear on what the homework ask is. If I'm going this out, because there's so much that I want to make sure that if we're all going in, you know, 8 different directions, it'll be hard to reconcile our notes. But I if I missed it, I'm sorry. But if there's a clear ask of like, how should I sift through or rank or notate all of these compiled comments so that we're ready for the retreat?
You should look through the entire document, and after looking through the entire document, go and think about what seems like something that you, in your opinion, I'm not saying this is a legal advice or anything like that, what in your opinion is possible, and then on top of what's possible, what is a good idea or something that you would support moving forward with as a recommendation to the council, and bring your perspective on that to the entire committee meeting.
Is that the consensus of our just the
No,
discussion we just had? That's
I
not what
share?
I got.
Could I share or no?
Yeah.
Go ahead. But
Thank
I
you,
think the
Erica.
latter end of end of what you shared, I didn't get that piece. I don't think
Yeah.
that was communicated. And in addition to that, I think like the reading the charter against this document is important work. What's plausible is important work. We need support with that. We could come up with the initial list. There's some things that'll be clear, but I think like that's work that we should do. Meg's point about additional questions, I think, is also important for us to grapple with. Before we move forward, though, the chair might not love this, but even though you want us to forge ahead with like reviewing Article 1 now, considering a retreat is on Saturday, we have to review this document against the charter in a day. I would vote for us not to do that here and now. That's just
I agree.
for some of us, Julian, like multitasking, reading the charter, reviewing this document, it's a lot of brain energy. We have to spend that to do this offline, and then we meet for a retreat that's all day on Saturday.
Ditto.
To me, it's a lot. I don't know if other folks agree. I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay, I hear that. Marcus and then Andy.
Yeah, thank you. I thought we were assigning each line a value of 1, 2, or 3, based on the definitions that we were going to discuss and record in the Excel spreadsheet right now.
That was my understanding, Marcus.
Okay.
Well, that was,
Andy?
I think that was what we were thinking in our meeting, but I think, you know, the question is how are we to judge what is, you know, how well positioned are we to judge what is a, you know, at the council and / charter level, and how, you know, there's been some question about whether we should have the Collins Center do that and you know, make that determination, but we need to have some way of doing homework that's going to be able, that we can sum up as we approach this thing, because it is large. And so,
And we need to get through this whole thing in a Saturday. So
I mean, the question is, you know, what kind of grading can we each do that then we can sum up, and we can sort of say how many people feel like this is something that should move forward, or how many people that should be that we want to develop further. I think that was the question, is like, is there enough of a germ of an idea here that we can then say this is on the list, whatever list, you know, and it may be a 3-category list, but this is the thing that the Collins Center came back to me and Julian with, was to say, you know, should we move forward with, you know, line 6, mandating that the town, you know, work jointly with other jurisdictions whenever there's a reasonable possibility of achieving better, less expensive services and administrative. Is this something? Do we want to, you know, push for this or not? It's a mandate. The next one is, do we think revisiting the public forum definition to make it less cumbersome, and there's suggested language? Is that something that would be worth moving forward with? And so it's almost like you're just going down, and I'm sorry, guys, from the feedback subcommittee, this is an additional step that happened after we met, but because we were talking about level 1, level 2, and level 3, you know, with the 2 being the sweet spot for the council and the charter, and things above and below that. But Pat was saying, you know, you might want to just be looking through this and saying, is this something we can move forward with and theoretically get a recommendation that is, you know, that will be useful to the council or to the town, if it's not council specific, yes or no. And so if I were looking at this, just, I would say mandating, we're already saying that Amherst should work jointly with other jurisdictions, but mandating it seems a little clunky, and I would say leave it alone. So I would say no, don't push that one forward. And then in 7, I would say, there's a definition of a public forum that's been found to be kind of clunky, and the counselors have some suggested language to make it work better. And I would say that's worth considering. And so that I would just sort of go through and say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And some of the no's might just be, this is a general version of a more specific question that comes down below. But I think we're really looking at, are these ideas in a form that with some hammering, we can hand them off to the council or to the town? And so it may be some of these are good ideas, but they might take a lot of work. There might be things that would require a study commission or something to get them right. And so somehow if we could say, yeah, we think this has promise, this has potential.
Right.
Yes, yes, no, no, yes, yes, no. And then we can all, if we go through and check and write that down, then we can see where we are in terms of, how many of us are voting yes, how many of us are voting no. And there may be some that are unanimous, some that are significant majority, and some that are really contested. I don't know.
Yeah, well put. Marcus?
Yeah, so that's a complete change of what we had discussed, and would have been nice to, kind of come out with that at the beginning. You guys had a meeting with the Collins Center about this, because I mean, this is a complete 180 about how we've been talking about it, how we've been framing it, right? We had talked about the need to reduce complexity for Saturday so that we could actually get through the, 200 odd or whatever it is, inputs, so that we could group things and then talk about what the groups meant and all that sort of thing. Now we're going individually on each line. We're not going to get through that in a month of Sundays. So I appreciate the input from the Collins Center, but the time frame that we're dealing with, I think, needs some more aggregation prior to going through that level of detail, right? We, to Erica's point, we aren't, actually Erica and Raphael's point, we aren't meant to be, the experts on it. We couldn't give exact definitions of what's in, what's out, whatever we're choosing to do, but we could have a good idea and then take it to the Collins Center. That was kind of where the idea was. Let's get it through on it. Now that we're going into this proposed level of detail, I mean, yeah, let's have at it.
Erica, I think this is a good practice for the committee in working efficiently, because we have a lot to get through, and maybe having members sort of stop and realize, okay, I'm going to have to use my own judgment here and quickly consider whether I think this is a good idea, a bad idea, or an idea I need more clarity on. And that is how we will move forward on Saturday. That's the advice that I've heard from Collins, and I think the Collins Center is offering good advice here. Erica, and then Andy?
I may be missing something about the debate because I'm not sure that anyone is saying throw out what the Collins is suggesting. But I wanted to just propose that the original question that I raised was, what is the homework? What is the ask to make Saturday an efficient and productive session? And it seems to me we could just do a very simple, I mean, Andy, I think you were saying kind of yes, no, yes, no. I would just maybe add the idea that we if we're individually reading through this, that we come in with a sense of priorities, of what is of highest urgency in our own minds, in our own sort of informed consensus of, we've been through this for a year now, thinking about the charter, hearing about the charter, consulting about the charter, and talking about it with the public and if town officials in various ways. So that we're bringing our informed opinion to bear if we go through this and kind of, I feel like I could go through this and say, I'm not sure I can get through all 200 by Saturday or whatever it is, but I could go through and say, item 173 feels like that's a really urgent priority for this town to address in some form. I don't feel as a layperson, I can come in by Saturday and say, oh, that's a state law issue versus something
Right.
that the council could take up in its next session. I feel like that's the part I want to outsource to our consultant a little bit. But in terms of what we can't give the Collins 200 things to consider, we're going to give them a concise and edited list out of this incredible thing you guys have compiled. And how do we get that edited list? My suggestion right now is that we each individually kind of begin to rank them in priority so we have like a fruitful discussion. And the ranking is based on our own sense of what we've heard all year, what is showing up in the record, what is urgent, what is kind of keeps coming up in whatever way, and what is shown up as an outlier in our conversations, annotations from Collins. There's all kinds of evidence for why we would rank something of a higher urgency. So that's what I'm suggesting.
Yeah, Andy, I'm welcome to go through things like with will include, like support won't include, and a priority ranking. I have nothing against that, like on a 1, 2, 3 scale. Andy?
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to Marcus's comments, which was that this is making it harder. And I think what I was hearing from the group was that the 1, 2, 3 and figuring out what's a non-council level, non-charter level, either higher or lower, was sounding harder to folks than prioritizing or figuring out what's a higher priority or what's a lower priority. So I think we're just trying to, based on the discussion here and what I'm hearing here, and also what I had heard from the Collins Center, is like, how do we get a process that we can go through on Saturday and have a sense, have some sort of process that we can tick through these things and already have had something in our heads about, what we would rate where, or what, how do we win it? How do we take this list and turn it into something that we can move forward with? So it's not I think we need to go with whatever the committee feels is going to be the most productive and the most, promising, and not, I think we each might have different ideas of what that is, but, if we're trying to give out homework and we're trying to figure out a vote, what basically amounts to a voting system on Saturday for how do we rank these things. I don't know what the rankings should be, but I think we need to figure it out so that we're all voting the same way, and whatever that is most workable for the group.
So let's try the first 3 or 4 items in Article 1 and try them with both a ranking system 1, 2, 3, 1 being most important, 3 being least important, as well as sort of differentiating, is this an idea that we want sort of in the pot still? Andy, would you mind screen sharing?
What's the difference between those two?
Like basically say, I guess you could consider a 3 as not in the pot at all, and sort of a 1 and a 2 as like high priority, low priority, if you want.
And that's determined by what, Julian?
That's determined by
that?
us as a committee as to whether we want to consider.
I mean, in my initial analysis of that, in my analysis of it, like, how am I making that decision? Priority or no? What I've heard, I've tried to recollect what I've heard, the sources that are here. Is it plausible or not? Is that all in play?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I'm just wondering if maybe we just try like to say what's a priority and what's not. I mean, or do you think we should say high priority, medium priority, low
I would
priority.
prefer we go like high, medium, low, just so we can sort of get an idea of like, there's some of these little things that might be good ideas but aren't important, you know?
People okay with that?
I'm good with it.
Great.
So do we want to talk about the preamble?
Sure, let's start with that and let's try to move efficiently. So not as much comments as just here's my rating and maybe a here's why.
So 1 is high priority, 2 is a priority but not the highest, and 3 is not so interested.
I am personally a 3. This was it. I don't think we need a preamble. I'll call on each member. Marcus?
I just want to say that this is the document we're seeing for the first time in this meeting. So I just want to take a second to make sure I understand the issue.
Yes, we're trying to train people up on it to understand how to do it on Saturday.
No, but the idea was that some charters have a preamble. Ours doesn't have a preamble now. It's a statement of values, and some folks said that we could develop one outlining town goals and values and have that to start the charter.
But what is a high priority, medium priority, low priority? Why would we be ranking them all on the same scale when some things could be part of the charter, some things can't be part of the charter, and some things have got nothing to do with the charter?
No.
But in each of those values, they would then be high, medium, or low.
No. What I'm saying here is that if it's a low priority, we're saying it might not work in the charter. It might not be eligible.
But there could be things that are in the charter that I think are low priority.
Then you
Or
would,
things that are not, that it would be state input that are low priority.
then you'd probably want to give it a 2 because some of our committee members don't seem to want to make that decision. They want to leave that decision up to Collins.
Okay.
Do we want to go around and say high, medium, low? Andy, you're an expert on this. Do you want to start?
I would say it's a low priority for me, so 3.
Okay. I would agree, 3. I'll pass the buck along how I see it on my Zoom screen. Erica?
2.
Marcus?
2.
Okay. Raphael?
This is the first time I'm seeing this. I'm gonna abstain. Maybe
fine.
for folks in town, it's a priority. I don't know, but I'm gonna.
No worries. Ken?
3.
Meg?
I'm going to abstain. What is 1 or 3? Which is, I don't even, what is 1? 1 is yes, high priority, and 3 is low.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to abstain too because I haven't seen it before.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is a few unsures, and then mostly lower priorities. I appreciate that. That's helpful.
There was a 1, but wasn't there a 1 and a 3?
I don't believe there was a 1.
Okay.
Anywhere, Meg. No. Anyway, do we want to try the next one out? See if this can go a little bit smoother?
It might not be smooth, Julian. There has to be a process, but sometimes we discuss stuff. It's not always smooth. I hear.
Okay.
Wow.
I'll first ask, do folks
section?
generally understand this?
Can you, this is tiny print, but this section should be revised.
We could be looking at the charter at the same time, but basically there's a section that in section 1.6 says Amherst may exercise any of its powers or perform any of its functions and may participate in, jointly or in cooperation with other jurisdictions. And this one says, this would revise it to say that the town is mandated to cooperate with other jurisdictions whenever there's a reasonable possibility of achieving better, less expensive services and administration for Amherst residents. The comment over here is consider the implications and practicality of a mandate and what constitutes a reasonable possibility. So we're currently saying, suggesting that Amherst may cooperate, and that this is saying that we must cooperate whenever it sounds like it's a good idea.
This makes sense to folks? Okay, I'll mix up the order a little. I'll start with Ken.
Sorry, 1.
Great. I'm gonna agree. 1. Meg?
Abstain.
Raphael?
Good to see the process abstain.
Erica?
2.
Marcus?
I'm going with a 3 because there's too much possibilities with the reasonable possibility.
Sounds good. Andy?
Yeah, I think I'm a 3 too. I think the current language is fine.
So this is very split because we have 2 people abstaining, and we have 2 people saying 1, and we have 2 people saying 3. So, and then we have Erica saying 2. So this is very split. Something maybe we should come back to. Come back to on Saturday. Discuss more. It's great. I'm glad. I think it's good that we have some dissent to an extent. Revisit public forum. Do we want to go forward with this one? Marcus.
Yeah, can we record the results somewhere, please?
Yep.
On the screen.
Sure. I'm not screen sharing, but I was taking notes on who voted how. Is there a column where we could sort of just tie things up?
I'll try. So, how many 1s were there? 2?
There was 2 1s. Yep. And then 1 2, and then 2 3s, and 2 abstentions.
You might just want to have 4 columns and start tallying within them. Column for 1, 2, 3, and then
Right.
A for abstention.
That's good.
It's a good idea.
Okay, so the first one was what?
The first one, I believe we had mostly 3s. Hold on. We had, I believe, 0 1s, 2 2s, 2 abstentions, and 3 3s.
Okay, so say that again.
0 1s.
Yeah.
2 2s.
Okay.
3 3s, and 2 abstentions.
Okay.
And now let's do 1.7.
I'm sorry. For 1.6 it was two 1s, 1 2, 2 2s, and 2 extensions.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so this one, I mean, this is basically, we had a public forum definition in the charter that said public forum means a meeting where more than 1/2 of the meeting time in the agenda is devoted to public comment. It's actually been kind of clunky because there's a certain amount of presentation that needs to happen, and then there may not be very many people showing up. So there's a fair amount of time waiting around or scheduling another meeting for presentation time so they don't take up too much time. And the math of 50-50 doesn't seem to work out. So there's a suggestion that the language be changed to say that instead of 50% time meeting time requirement, they would change to a meeting in which all members of the public who wish to speak on the subject are given an opportunity to do so. And that's how currently the council uses. That's what the council does in its hearings.
Okay, let's move forward the same way. This time I'll start with you, Andy, again.
I think this is a 1. It's an easy fix, and it seems like it would make a difference.
Which one is this we're talking about?
1.7.
The line 7, the definition of a public forum. Right now, it says 50% of the time has to be devoted to members of the public, but the point, the logic of this, or the suggestion, is that we just the point is that to make sure the public is heard, and so we just want to have definition that will say the public, all the members of the public have to be heard, or that's what the suggestion was.
Excellent. Meg.
This looks like a good idea, but again, I haven't seen this before. Is this process, I just worry that we have such short, precious time together. I want to be sure we get to the other agenda items, but I've just seen this for the first time, but I like it, that this idea.
So let's put a number on it.
Is 1 that you like it?
Yes.
It's
Is
a
this like
priority.
it, or think it's a priority?
It's a priority, yeah.
Priority.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a priority. I don't know. I'm having a hard time
Okay.
with this
I'm
procedure.
saying it.
1, I guess.
Okay. Marcus.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Erica.
I give this a high priority of 1, but I have to just agree that this is not, I don't think this is a good use of time right now.
Raphael.
Seems plausible. In the stuff that I've heard, people want their voice to be heard. I'll put a 1 on it. I'm gonna third, I'm not sure this is a good use of time. I think we understand.
It's how at least something similar to it is how we're going to be spending 8 hours on Saturday.
Yeah, we've done it.
Wait,
We've done it.
6 hours.
Yeah, we've done
Yeah. But
But we
We've done
will have
this
read it
yeah,
on
time,
Sunday.
Julian.
Sunday we will have
This
read
is-
it ahead.
Not my first rodeo, Julian. So I get the process. 1 for me.
okay. Ken.
1.
Great. And myself, I am also a 1. I think this is a good idea.
Is that everybody?
I believe so, with 2 abstentions.
So we had 6 and 2. 6. Okay. Is that enough to get a flavor of it, or do we want to keep going?
Do folks feel like they understand it? Understand what we're going to be doing on Saturday?
I do. Thank you.
Great.
Me too.
Okay. Excellent. Andy, you understand it?
Yeah, I think so. Just if you have questions about it, you can always refer to the charter. You can refer to the big spreadsheet with everybody's, if you're trying to find out what people said for a rationale. Maybe I can send a link to that if that's helpful, but it's kind of hard to find things in that. It's just a big repository. But
Erica, do you understand this?
Yes, I understand.
Great. Marcus.
So
Go ahead, Eric.
no, I have nothing to add. I've made my point. Thank you.
Okay. I'm good.
Great. Raphael.
What's the question?
Do you understand what we're going to be doing Saturday and how?
I said that 50 times, Julian.
Great. Thank
Something
you.
else. Come on. I understand. 1, 2, 3, get it.
I get that
Trying to
people
be
might
nice,
disagree
Julian.
with it.
I'm
That's
trying to be
okay.
nice, Julian, but remember we have a retreat. We're gonna be with each other for a while. I think people understand the process. It's 7:20.
Great.
We
We
have to
will move
review this
on.
document before the retreat.
Huh?
We
Sorry.
have to review this document before the retreat. To respect these folks' time, energy, brain power, I think, to me, it's important for us to move ahead.
Great.
We
I
have a
will.
lot of hours on Saturday.
I'll move us along. I just want to make
Thank you.
sure people know
Thank
what we're doing. It seemed like
You do.
there was some
Well-
folks who didn't understand. So moving us along in the agenda, we will now discuss the outreach activities on the initial report. I was going to suggest that once we have narrowed down these ideas, that we have some committee members staff a table at the block party on the 18th from 5 to 9 p.m. where we could have a bulletin board up that basically has some of a sampling of the ideas we voted on the retreat, maybe one per section, and give folks dots where at the block party they could say this is a good idea, this is a yellow idea, like maybe, or this is a bad idea with a red. And it would allow us to reach the probably 2,000 or 3,000 people who attend that event if they want to come up and put up stickers. It would be, in my opinion, more of an aggregate survey of how folks are feeling, what folks are thinking, and a good public outreach opportunity, given this committee has not really reached many folks in the public except those who are very concerned. Meg?
That's the same time as our next meeting.
Correct. That this would be instead
So
of
whoever sits at the table doesn't come to the meeting, or?
no, this would be instead of our next meeting.
Okay.
Andy?
I think we're going to need to. I'm trying to polish these ideas, and I thought we were talking about running them by the Collins Center, in order for them to sort of put some language to them and grade them as far as which ones are, whether there are any legal or constitutional issues. So I guess I'm not sure we're going to be ready to have anything that is going to be ready for prime time by the 18th. And I also worry that when I go to the block party, I'm usually looking for food. I'm not really looking to vote on, questions of town constitutionality. So I'm just not sure that that's going to be a venue that's going to be very successful for that.
I mean, we could hold back food for votes. You can't eat till you've proven you voted. We hand out one of those "I voted" stickers and talk to the food vendors that they can only provide food for those with the stickers. Then sure.
Yeah, that would be fun. But I mean, we as a committee have gotten attendance public forums to hear folks' ideas that is it's a handful of people each time, and oftentimes it's the same people. And in my opinion, the outreach this committee has done to the public is disappointing, quite frankly. I'm not trying to lay blame on anyone. I'm just saying I've been disappointed with it. And it would be great to get our name out in an event where folks who might not be focused on the charter are, and we can sort of get a bigger pool of people in the town who might be able to share their perspective and actually engage in what I would describe as real outreach. Market or Raphael, and then Meg.
Yeah, I appreciate the efforts folks have made with outreach. I think civic engagement is a challenge, Amherst and elsewhere. I do think, Andy, though, if we do something in terms of presence there, I don't think it has to be like vote on. It could be like this process is still happening. Update people about where we are. And I just want to say, like, outreach is a challenge. Civic engagement is a challenge too. And it was summer.
Yeah, that's the other thing. There are tons of students who come to the block party, college students, high school students, etc. Meg, and then Andy.
Make sure I'm not muted. I've sat at many a table at events like the block party, and if you're not, people don't stop. If you're not out there walking around with a clipboard or something and engaging them, it's not people, as Andy said, it's people go to the block party not to comment on town government, but to have some food, watch the jugglers. So I don't think it's a good way to get more input. I think we've sort of finished the initial input. We're going to get more input when we put out our preliminary report. I have strong feelings about a frustration about the outreach that we did because we didn't have a budget. I must have made 6 or 7 calls to the Survival Center and more to the Crocker Farm, only to find out after I booked the spaces, we couldn't use them because we didn't have any money to pay for it. So I don't think it's so much that we didn't try to do outreach, is that we had frustration with limitations that we didn't have any control over. But I don't want to sound defensive, but I think if we're trying to do outreach, in my experience, sitting behind a table doesn't, we might get 10 people. We do better going to a neighborhood meeting or a neighborhood committee or something. That's in my opinion. I mean, I'll sit there for an hour, but I'd rather have a meeting of our group, of this group, than sit at a table at the block party. Just my opinion. I'm one person.
Andy?
Lower my.
Yeah, I think we've, despite the fact that it was summer and we didn't have any money, I think we got a lot of good ideas. And so the thing to do now, I think that will really engage people is to give them something to react to.
Yeah.
And so I think when we have a preliminary report, I think we'll get more interest. And it also is not summer. So, things are working in our favor because people find it easier to react to something than to just come up with ideas. And I think there'll be some interest, but I'm just not sure it'll be baked enough by the 18th of September to get that feedback.
By the end of our meeting, I was hoping we would have a sort of list of ideas that we're considering. And even if we don't have advice from Collins yet by that point, we at least have them whittled down enough that folks can comment on them and process them. Raphael?
Yeah, Andy and the feedback committee, looking forward to going through that whole document. It's a lot of work. I do want to share though, like there's been a framing here periodic about challenge, disappointments, but we got a lot of feedback, a fair amount of
Right.
feedback. I think we need to name that. People, they need to show up to all the listening sessions, but the feedback committee had a lot to work with. I think we want to appreciate those folks that committed to submitting those feedback forms without sort of framing it in like folks aren't involved. People respond.
Right.
We want more folks. That's always the push, but continuing to frame this in that way, to me, is tricky in terms of how we engage with folks moving forward. People have participated. We want to do better, but I hope we recognize that. And I also want to recognize the work of folks, the work that folks have put into like trying to make this work. A lot of good work here. Thanks.
Thank you, Raphael.
Other comments, questions, ideas? No. Andy?
I think some of this is relevant to the suggestion that we extend our deadline, because if we're not looking to like cram this into, the rest of this month and next month, but we're actually going to the end of the year, then I think we have a little more time to produce a preliminary report that will be, that will have had feedback from the Collins Center and that will be a little more polished, and then we'll then elicit better feedback, I think. So if that's something we want to do, I think we should probably discuss that.
I would
agree. I know the plan is to discuss that. So
I think that's an appropriate segue to say, how do folks feel about voting an extension request to the council, and I'll put together a memo to the council president to extend our deadline maybe to January 15th. Meg?
I strongly agree, as much as I would like our work to be done, even December 31st, because I think if the council has only 90 days to respond, and it puts a lot of pressure on the council that's on its way out. I think some of those same people will be reelected, but it's just not reasonable that they're going to give this thoughtful response in the last weeks of their term, especially during the holidays and so on. So I think either December 31st or January 5th, so the new council deals with it.
Okay. I guess I'll make a motion to extend. Just give us a little extra time, January 15th.
I think Athena had her hand up.
Oh, Athena, sorry, I didn't see you on there.
I think you might want to consider the council meeting dates.
Okay.
So my suggestion was the last meeting of the current council's term, or
Okay.
you could choose the first meeting of the next council's term.
Okay. Do you know when the first meeting of the next council's term is?
They have a first meeting on January 5th.
Okay, that seems like a reasonable time then. Let's do that. How do
Erica
folks?
had her hand up too.
Who? Sorry,
Erica.
I'm not able to see people for some reason. Erica?
I have a question, which is it, if it's possible to request an extension, would it alternatively be possible to extend the 90 days limitation?
The 90-day limitation is in the charter itself. So
So that can't, so you're saying that can't be moved?
that's correct.
Because it would be of much more interest to me to extend the window of the response than to extend our work by 3 months.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not something the council can vote to do because it's written into the law.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's going to be possible. So let's.
But it's
focus.
something we can consider.
It's something you can consider as part of this process. Yeah.
So do we want to move forward with the 5th? With asking for January 5th? And I'll put together a memo. If we can just vote on that real quick, then we have something to leave here with.
Additional hand.
Juliana had it. I had my hand up.
Oh yeah, sorry, I can't see people for some reason. I'm not sure why.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I made sure. Let me drop my hand. I think there it is. I'm not happy about it at all. I'm not happy about extending. I totally get, and that's my emotional response. The rational response is everything that Meg said. Like we've got, I think it was Meg that said, like, we've got work to do still. And we just can't like shove it off and expect a really thoughtful response. So that's just my thought. I don't really have an alternative suggestion, but I'm not wild about it at all, actually.
Thanks for being realistic about that. I appreciate it.
Erica and Athena have their hands up too, since you can't see. So Erica and
Erica, then Athena. Thank you.
Athena, why don't you go ahead first, because I suspect it's more relevant.
One of the reasons that I had suggested the last meeting of the current council's term is because there's one member of this committee who's running to be a council member, and that might create a conflict of interest if this committee is presenting suggestions to a member who is serving.
Good point, Athena.
Erica?
I feel very similar to Ken in my response to this notion. I have an interest in concluding our work, but I understand why we might need to extend it. I hope that when we're putting forward, we haven't discussed this at all, but if we're putting forward an extension, I don't know what people's expectations are about the kind of continuity of our meeting schedule all the way up through January 15th. So I'm not sure what we're expecting of each other in that respect.
Raphael?
just want to consider what Athena shared about timeline. But maybe it would be helpful for this committee to flush out a timeline before we move towards like making that motion now. Just a clear timeline in terms of things have shifted. If things will shift if we're taking additional time.
Andy?
I think part of the reason that it's being suggested is because that the council isn't going to have time to review it with the current timeline, because the council will be turning over at least partially, and right now the 90 days would land them right in the middle of the early part of the budget season. So I think the sense, and also it would be split between the current council and the new council. So my understanding is the deadline, we can choose to finish by October 31st, but not to deliver the report until, late December, early January. I think what I'm hearing is that would be better for the council, and it might allow them to consider our work more judiciously.
I think it would be better to put this in the hands of the next council, just because we already have, we want to be able to have those discussions with them and engage the council members and allow them to put it on their own agenda after we're finished. And it's important for us to be able to complete our process thoroughly and then have a report to them that is workable and that we can discuss with them and answer their questions and so on and so forth. I think generally it's better to put that in the hands of the next council. Plus, it allows voters to weigh it as an issue in the election, which I think is the most democratic way to approach it. So I'll make the motion to extend to January 5th, which is the meeting of the next.
Julian, did we vote? Did you put forward a motion that should we vote on this, or I don't know? So you making a motion?
I'm making a motion that we extend our committee to January 5th, and that I will deliver a memo to the town council asking for that extension.
Do we have a second?
I'll
We have
second.
a second to discuss it.
Discussion.
Excellent. Andy seconds. Meg.
I want to clarify, though, that doesn't have to mean we extend our work until then. We could set our own deadline for finishing the report for October 31st, because I think, we're all weary. So the decision to extend the deadline for submitting the report is in order to align with the council's changeover. But that doesn't have to mean we meet every 2 weeks on Thursday night until the middle of January, right?
Final report, yes. We have to finish a final report, though.
Yeah, but
Julian, Athena has her hand up.
Athena, go ahead.
To speak to Raphael's point, I think it might be wise to work backwards from some dates. So there are 8 regular council meetings remaining for the rest of the year. You have 3 reports due to the council. And for the committee to have adequate time to prepare those reports and present them to the council with time in between for the committee to conduct whatever activities it wants to conduct to prepare the next report, I think it might take a little bit of planning.
Yeah, I'm happy to come back with a little bit more of a calendar for our next meeting.
great. Thank you.
This extension request more quickly than that, I think. Andy.
Yeah, just the concern has been raised about, that I'm a candidate, or will be if I turn in my signatures for the council. But I'm quite sure that, if I did happen to get elected and the committee was presenting its report on January 5th, I would be an eager recipient, and then I would be a knowledgeable member of the council, and I'm sure you could present it. So I'm not too concerned about waiting until January 5th.
Me neither. Me neither. Other comments, questions before we vote on this? Seeing none, Andy, you just still have your hand up. Raphael.
I just really want to lean into timeline and planning. I think that helps this whole committee.
Yeah.
I think sometimes I just think that would help. Maybe we vote now, but I think I'd like to see that calendar and grapple with the work that people have to do. Maybe at the, I don't know when, soon. I think that's very, very important. Just
Sure.
time, clarity. It'll help everybody here.
Absolutely. Other comments, questions?
Erica has her hand up.
Erica?
Is there some limiting reason why this couldn't be put together with a calendar and voted on in our next meeting?
Because the town council needs to be able to vote on it before October 31st. And I quite frankly don't have faith that they will vote on it before then if we don't get it to them quicker than in 2 weeks.
Can I share, Julian?
They meet between now and then, they meet 3, maybe 4 times. We meet 3, maybe 4 times, and they need a certain amount of notice. I
Yeah.
want to make sure that they can get this on their agenda with proper notice before our time runs out. Raphael?
Tina, so I'll share. Julian, you seem like a great multitasker. Why can't we put it to vote on Saturday? Why can't you come up with that timeline for then? Does that seem, why
could.
can't you? Yeah,
My goal in the retreat is to spend the retreat on the actual substance of the charter, not on administrative tasks. I think it's important to make that distinction so that we can have a productive retreat focused on actually reviewing the charter rather than sort of the administrative tasks of running our committee.
Athena and Marcus have their hand up.
Yeah. Athena and then Marcus.
Marcus was first.
Marcus, go ahead.
I was just going to move that we postpone the vote until such time as we have a calendar.
Okay. Athena?
Is there a second?
I second it.
I just wanted to point out that the next council meetings are September 8th, this coming Monday, the 15th, the following Monday, and October 6th.
Thank you, Athena. Would we like to vote on either one of these things?
You have to take up the motion to postpone first.
Okay, great. Marcus, comments on the motion to postpone before I vote on that?
No, I'm good.
Okay, I'll start with Andy.
I don't know. Pass.
Meg, okay.
I want to hear a justification for it.
Meg.
I'm sure with Andy, but I'll vote yes.
Okay. It seems like
Marcus has his hand up.
Oh, sorry, I need to undo it. Thing.
Oh, good.
Explain it a little. Explain your rationale for why.
Because I want to be able to plan. To kind of Raphael's point, I think we need to set out when our last meeting is going to be, when we'll have the report in. I don't think they should be. I don't think the meeting and the report need to be tied together. I just think we need to have, rather than just blasting a date out there, I think we just need to have a better understanding of what we're getting ourselves in for.
Ken, do you want to vote on this? I'll start with you and work backwards.
Sorry, was that me, Julian?
Yep.
I vote to postpone. Yes.
Erica.
Yes.
Andy.
Andy.
If you pass.
Pass.
Raphael.
Yes to the yes to the yes.
Marcus, you're in yes, I assume.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to vote. Yes. Yes.
I'll abstain. And that just leaves Meg and then Andy. Meg?
I thought I said yes.
Yeah.
maybe I called on you already. Andy?
I mean, I think we should decide this at another time than at this point in the meeting.
Andy?
Yeah, okay, fine, yes.
Okay, I will bring this to our next committee meeting and hopefully the council will approve us so that we don't go defunct on the 31st. Raphael,
Julian, Amanda,
go ahead.
I think in the meantime, someone could work on said calendar.
I'm happy to work on it. I will bring
And
it
while
down.
it might,
Sure.
while it might seem like I don't think it'll take a lot of time for us to see a calendar and vote on it. I don't think that has to be postponed to, you want to deal with all this stuff. There's important work to be done during the retreat, but I think with a calendar seen, clarity about, I don't think it has to be postponed for too much later.
Okay. I am happy to bring a calendar to the retreat and vote on it at the retreat if you all can promise to keep the discussion on it under 10 minutes.
You got it.
Okay? Which is harder done than said, it seems, for this group. No
For a
personal.
lot of groups. You have good folks here.
Right.
Andy?
Andy has his hand up.
So the schedule, the calendar then would have, when are we gonna have the initial report? When are we gonna have the, the second report? And when are we gonna have the final report?
Right.
And when are we going to get it vetted by Collins and by legal and things like that? So we just need to fit that in. And then if we can get it done by October 31st, then we just say delivery date, we put a bow on it and we deliver it on whenever. But I think it would be, yeah. So yeah, great.
Raphael?
I think, Erica, you had your hand up before me. Go
Erica,
ahead.
go ahead.
Thank you. When you're preparing the calendar, please remember that there's a public forum required between preliminary and final, and we want to leave enough time to plan for that.
Absolutely.
So my hand was up. So wanted to share that. Thanks, Erica. And before that sort of forum preliminary report, great to consider that there's additional outreach that's happening. Just plotting that out too. I don't know what amount of weeks we talked about in the outreach subcommittee, but we had some things planned to share initial report and.
Great. Do folks have a general idea of when they think we could get an initial report done by?
When we could what?
When we could get an initial report done by? Meg?
I suggest that we create a schedule for each of the next meetings. We've been meeting for a year, but I think we want to meet for a fairly short amount of time going forward until, into October or November, that we create goals for each of the next meetings in relation to when can we, go through all the recommendations, figure out how to present them, write the preliminary report, and so on. When will the public forum be? I think we need a real tight calendar for us to be sure we're, moving it along.
Raphael?
Yeah, regarding your question about when, I think if we use the sort of format that was proposed by the feedback committee, I don't think it's a heavy lift. I think Saturday will matter much. I think getting some guidance about what's plausible from Collins matters too. But I don't imagine it taking too much time.
Okay. Andy?
You're muted.
Just wondering if
Muted.
can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Just wondering if the outreach committee has done some thinking about a calendar, or when you were thinking about the preliminary and the forum, if there's any kind of sketch of a calendar that you guys have put together that you could assist Julian with, so he's not just hanging out there on his own.
We can send the dates that we discussed last time.
Sure, that's great. Thank you. Okay.
Right.
Other comments, questions, topics not anticipated?
Wait, is this topics not anticipated?
Yes, go ahead.
I would like to, either myself or from all of us, send a note to the council saying that we're no longer interested in having a ninth person appointed to this committee. I think it could be disruptive, especially after Saturday, when we will have gone through this process. I'm happy to do it on my own, but I'd much rather it was something we all sent to them. They put an effort into meeting with us. What, 3 or 4 of them met with us, and longer than any of us expected, a conversation. And I think we should say thank you for taking this so seriously. At this point, it wouldn't be helpful.
Okay. Raphael?
Was there update on the agenda about this, Julian? Did I see that on the agenda?
No, this is items not anticipated 48
Oh.
hours ahead.
Yes.
There
I
was a
did.
vacancy
I had a
update on
Very
the
quick
agenda.
update on this, which is
Right.
just that GOL says that they're going to continue recruiting for a member. They voted that at their last meeting.
Right. So oh, I see what you're saying. So in response to that, it seems like not worth the effort, and it could be disruptive.
It's not worth our time to draft a letter like that at this point, given
Well,
that
I'll send it myself, but
you're welcome to do
I don't want
whatever
to
you
just be the
want.
Lone Ranger doing it by myself, but I'm happy to. It just seems it would be counterproductive at this point to bring in someone minimally who would have to be brought up to speed. And at, worst case scenario, they would have a whole different opinion about how everything should happen. We need to get this moving, work through this last 2 months.
Raphael?
Meg, I'll say we'll move, but I think them joining us last time was to get insights from us. I think they heard that from people here, so they know. So we'll see.
So we were sort of ambivalent, at least, we said maybe it'd be good. I don't know. I just think, well, okay, if we don't want to do it, we won't. I'll just do it myself, probably.
You can do whatever you'd like as a member of the public. With all due respect, Meg, the time to make that comment was when they joined us at the last meeting.
But things have changed since then.
What has changed?
We're having this retreat on Saturday. They're going to start from scratch, the process of seeking more resumes. It'll take months. I mean, we'll be all done by the time they do it. It's not worth the effort. But
Andy,
that's okay. I understand. I should have said it when they were here a month ago. But okay, does everybody agree we're not going to make
I think you got that those documents to read, Meg.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to
You
read
got
the
homework.
documents. I'm going to send an email from
There's
myself.
other priorities, Meg.
I'll send an email from myself alone and say, in my humble opinion, just speaking for myself,
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth the effort.
I'm happy to
What?
join you, Meg, if you want to add my name to that.
Okay, I'll send it to the other comment I mentioned to Julian that I wanted to mention in items not considered 48 hours, but I think we're sort of doing it. We've done it already, which is to get clear on what our process is for approving or just, on recommending things in this report. And I suggest that we might consider identifying recommendations that had the full unanimous support of everybody versus those that had maybe only 5 votes. But I'm not sure we should talk about that now, but I thought indicating the degree to which our committee supported recommendations. I think given this conversation tonight, we're not going to insist on consensus or unanimous support for everything we recommend, which I think is good because can be a long process. The question I'm asking, and maybe for discussing later, is whether we want to indicate the unanimity of our committee in advancing recommendations. Maybe another column that says, 6-2, 8-0, 7-1. I'm not sure, but that might be an interest. I think something to think about. In other words, if everything goes forward as kind of, this is the recommendation, but it was actually a tough decision and we almost didn't make it versus something that's like a no-brainer. There's some of the things that have been said so often at every public hearing, and they've come in, that it's just obvious things that are a really good idea versus things that are more debatable, but approved by us. We might want to think down the road as we go through this of a way of indicating the degree to which our committee supported the recommendations. I'm not sure. I'm just trying to make sure that we're clear at the beginning what our process is. Implementing a process we've agreed on rather than making it up as we go along.
I hear that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Other
Over.
topics?
Lower my hand.
Can you see hands, Julian?
No, I cannot.
Erica has her
Erica
hand.
Erica.
Erica.
I would like to know what is the schedule of events for Saturday.
Yeah.
What the schedule is for Saturday?
Yep.
It's been posted on the town website. The agenda is on the town website.
Could you say it here?
Sure. It was posted on the town website this morning, and I will pull it up and speak it to you right now. Just let it load on my computer, but I will get that for you. You have it's Saturday. The library's available and booked.
I can share it if you want.
I have it right here.
Okay.
Call to order. Welcome at 10 o'clock in the morning. We'll have 30 minutes to set up the space from 9:30 to 10. Public comment. Then I would like to go through a process like what we just did for what to include in the report with a consensus process, and we try to decide what to include and what to sort of study and discuss more and ask for resources from Collins. Then I'm hoping that we'll have lunch at 12:30. Then we'll have another chance for public comment. Then we'll have a motion and vote on what specifically not to include in the process. We'll refine our work plan. We'll get a working group set up for the initial report and time when it is going to go out and what the outreach is for it. And then I'll probably, if we have some time, slip in a calendar and vote for an extension request, and then future agenda planning topics not anticipated and adjourn at 4 o'clock. The space is booked till 5 in case we run over a little bit and need some time to clean up, but that's our plan. Erica, is that helpful?
I wanted it to be part of the record of this meeting.
Half-hour lunch, Erica.
I'm ready.
That's what I saw.
I'm ready.
Bring your lunchbox. Thanks, Julian.
There's Amherst House of Pizza right across the street.
I hear
Yeah.
that. Great.
Plenty of great places to get lunch in half an hour. Other comments, questions?
No.
Do we need to bring, I can bring a projector as a backup just in case.
That would be great, just in case.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Future agenda planning. I guess we can also do that at the retreat. Other comments, questions before we adjourn?
Erica has her hand up.
Yeah, how
Sure.
are we handling minutes?
Minutes, members will have to take minutes. I was thinking to divide the day into 3 different sections, and to have Otter AI write a transcript. So 3 members would rotate, and we'll have a recording device on my computer that will assist us in writing minutes. Does that make
I
sense?
have a conference phone thing that's USB. I'll bring it well.
Excellent. Meg?
So we won't record it, obviously. That's okay with me, but
It does not appear that the town can record it, and I did call and ask Amherst Media, and it's not part of their contract to record these types of things.
But we'll have a transcript.
Correct. Raphael?
Yeah, thanks
Right.
again to the feedback committee. That's a lot of work that you all did. And
Yeah.
each committee appreciate your efforts with me. It's a lot of work. So thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, really, really, thank you.
Comments,
Yeah.
questions? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I would just say that, you know, all of the input came from the efforts of the outreach committee, so I appreciate you guys too.
Mhm.
Oh,
The love fest at the end. Saturdays around the corner. It's needed at times. Great.
Excellent. Other comments, questions before we leave? If not, does someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Great.
Sec-
Second.
second,
Okay, Meg, you can take the second if you want.
I don't care.
Raphael,
Aye.
myself, I'm an I. Andy,
Aye.
Meg,
Aye.
Marcus,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Erica.
Aye.
Aye, aye. All right. We'll end on that note. Good night, everybody.
Good
Aye.
night,
Aye.
thank you.
Take care.